Hi, I'm Cathy and I'm from Ballymun. I grew up in Ballymun and I now live and work in Ballymun.
Hi, Cathy. Thanks a million for joining us on this. Myself and Cathy know each other for, Jesus, probably 14, 15 years now. And Cathy used to be on the board here in Access Ballymun for, when was that, Cathy, actually?
God, Mark, I don't know. I've been on that many boards in and out. So, well, Ray was still, I think it was before you took over. So Ray was still here.
You ran away once I took over.
No, Mark, it was such a well-oiled machine. I really didn't feel like I could do anything or offer any service.
Yeah. Come here, listen, thanks a million for taking part in this anyway. And I suppose I'm going to start where I start with everyone is kind of, talk to me like kind of what Cathy was like kind of growing up in Ballymun. Like, were you sporty? Were you into the arts? Were you kind of, what was?
Tomboy, absolute tomboy. Yeah. But I was an all-rounder. We would have done lots of different things. I suppose there was a lot of creativity growing up. My mother was really creative, so you could walk into her house and hear, "Don't stand on the baby Jesus," because she'd be making figurines for the church or for shows and stuff. So there was always creativity in the house. She was very creative. I remember one year she dressed me up as the community spirit of Ballymun. So I was like a ghost with a big sign. So there was a lot of creativity, a lot of sport. We were very lucky here. We had lots of different clubs. There was always summer projects happening. The parents were very involved in different things. We'd loads of talent shows. So it was always, we used to go around all the different areas in hopes of getting a trophy in the library and that. So there was a lot of stuff happened. I suppose on a Sunday, I was kind of an odd child. On a Sunday, I'd be up in Mass acting out the gospel. And then after Mass, I'd be playing rugby or baiting up a few of the boys for fun.
Was that something that, sorry, I just had this vision of you as the community spirit of Ballymun.
I have a picture somewhere.
You should have brought it with you. But come here to me, rugby, like, was sport a big thing for you?
Sport was a big thing. I played football a lot, tennis. We had the Dublin Parks Tennis League beside us every year. I remember for a couple of years we had a guy called Calvin come over from the States to play basketball with us. We used to have a little football league. One of the women who used to bring us down to Clore House passed away, and one of the local guys set up a little league in her memory, Bernie Shields. So we used to have a Bernie Shields Cup every year. So there'd be teams of older women, young girls. There'd be us. Of course, we were the competitive team. I always played football. We had the Shangan Sharks for a while. We were managed. Yeah, so it was good crack. So I was always playing sport. Yeah, any kind of sport, tennis, ball against the wall. Yeah, rugby, whatever we could do.
I was talking to my own kids recently. They're becoming teenagers now, but kind of about the ball against the wall stuff. And I remember as a kid, like the intricate, like, nature of those games. Like, you didn't want a science degree now to figure them out. Do you remember those?
Yeah, well, we were only talking about the song, so they bought a load of balls because my nieces haven't been out in about 7 weeks. So I was saying to them, when it lifts, they can come over, because I built a big wall in my garden, and I'll teach them how to play. Because even that hand-eye coordination, it's just so good. It's just so beneficial for them. So I had bought a load of balls and deals, and I said I'll teach them now as soon as it's lifted to the restrictions.
And come here, did you grow up in a big family, Cathy? Was it?
There was 5 of us, but I suppose I have an older sister, but there's kind of 10 years between me and her. So she was kind of gone out to work when I was still quite young, and then I have 3 brothers. So I was quite a tomboy. The tracksuits and the hair whipped back in a pony, and not girly at all.
Where did you go?
I was in Larkhill, and then I was in Margaret Aylwoods for a while, and I went to the senior comp for a couple of months, and then I left because I got a job.
Where did you get the job?
I was working in a restaurant, and they asked me did I want to work full time, and I said absolutely, because I can have some money. So I didn't go back to education then till much later on. So I was wasted.
No. And come here, was that sort of, I mean, was the restaurant area something you were interested in, or just purely for kind of money? Was it kind of something that...
My sister worked there part-time, and she just got me a job one Christmas. It was actually, I just turned 16, and it was she got me a job, and then it was getting busy, and they said, you want to go full time? And I was like, absolutely. I asked my mum, could I leave school? And she said, if you want. So I did.
And what was the crack like then, kind of, you know, for to be, you know, that kind of young girl kind of growing up out of school in a restaurant? Like, was there kind of lots for you to do? Like, was there kind of, did you have a kind of gang of pals that you kind of hung around?
Yeah, we would have had it. There was always a big gang of us down in Shangaan, and I suppose it did change a little bit as people moved away, but I would have a core group of friends who I'd still be quite close to. So even though, like, when I started working, I was still going to discos in Shangaan and hanging around on the field. I wasn't like what normal people, like starting to go drinking, and you know, that didn't happen till later on. So I was there was loads of us. There would be gangs of us kind of palling around, so you could easily have a full football match with the lads and the girls. You know, there was enough of us. I have to say now, I had a really happy childhood here. There was obviously the usual issues, but I was quite oblivious to them. My mum worked in the Virgin Mary, so I used to go up and help her if I was off. So I have a real affinity to that school. So like we'd quite a good childhood. We were all kind of in the same boat, so nobody was really different. There was always activities. We had a couple of the basements in the flats set up as clubs, so we'd go up there 2 nights a week. We'd be in the church practicing the other nights. You know, so we were busy. We were always busy.
Was the church a big thing for you? I mean, when you say you're kind of acting out on the altar, was that kind of a big interest for you, or was it just something?
I think it was probably, I often think about that because I'm not really religious at all. And like my mum wasn't religious. I think her mum used to call her a little communist because she questioned everything. But she still paid her church collection, you know, even though she didn't go to mass. And I think it was more just the fun of it, the being on the stage. I remember, that wasn't a stage, obviously it was the altar. But I remember one year we used to do the little match girl every Christmas, and they asked me, they told me I'd have the main part, and then I didn't get it. So me and my friend locked ourselves in the church and wouldn't come out. So the priest at the time was not happy. So I think it was more the performing piece of it rather than the actual what it represented.
And come here, that's like, it's the opposite. You said you kind of went back, and I'm kind of skipping forward, a big skip forward and back. But in relation to you saying that you kind of went back to education, did that kind of something that kind of crawled up on you, or was it a big decision for you, Cathy? You know, was it something that you...
I think kind of when you come from an area like this, you tend to fall into things a lot. So I suppose my mum would have been very community focused. So I moved away for a while when I met my partner, and then I got pregnant, so I moved back to Ballymun. And she was kind of about 2, and I wanted to start doing things because I was kind of running, I was involved with volunteering with kind of some of the kids. We kind of were trying to set up a little youth club and that, so we would have ran some summer projects. So I suppose the kind of the urge was always there. I always knew I had like the brains to do something different, just maybe didn't have the opportunity. So I started on a CE scheme in CAFTA at the time, and they were saying, right, you need to, what sort of training would you like to do? So I was kind of in the headspace of I'll do office stuff. And then they very quickly were saying, well, actually you're better with people. So I did a couple of kind of courses around facilitation and that, but I always felt like I needed to have the piece of paper. So then I went back as the girls got older. I went back then and did a degree in training and education, and then I've done like a little bit after that. But I suppose it was never really a focus when we were in school. You know, go to college. It wasn't really mentioned that much. I think they were happy enough to get you through exams, and a lot of people, if they got work, kind of left and went to work. So like there'd be a lot of my peers who went back to education a lot later on.
Yeah. It's interesting kind of because I think there's a couple of things in that. I mean, that's a big step to do that because, you know, to go back and kind of retrain that part of your brain, but also to go back further, Cathy, that kind of, and I think an awful lot of people in Ballymun, when you hear them saying it, kind of go, oh yeah, I volunteered, or oh yeah, I was involved in this, so this is the most normal thing in the world to do. Like the amount of people that are involved in the community here is extraordinary. And that's something that just came naturally.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I suppose because I had all the clubs growing up, and we had a little house in Wicklow called Callow Hill, and you'd go down for a week with leaders, and it was just so much fun. So I wanted that for my girls. So it was a no-brainer to be involved in setting up and getting involved and kind of getting a basement and doing it. Like I remember painting Bambi on the walls, and we with the kids, and it was really good fun. So I wanted them to have the same experience that I had.
Yeah, I mean, it's gas for those that kind of don't know. I think it's an extraordinary thing, because when I came out here to work, I mean, obviously I'd been out in Ballymun loads before that, but the whole idea of the basements was incredible. I mean, the amount of volunteer organisations that were kind of going on in the basement flats of the blocks, and I think it was. And in some way, the colourfulness of actually just even the frontage of it. I remember Paddy Kavanagh's horse on his door over in Slogan. But that was a real kind of roots up stuff that was going on.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, there was a lot of that in Ballymun, and a lot of initiatives, a lot of new initiatives came through, I suppose, volunteering and support from different kind of organisations. But it was definitely ground up for a long time until they start professionalising everything, and then it shifts, But the basics were amazing. Like they were so space. Like when I was doing CE, we used to do cooking, meditation, first aid. We had a whole setup in basements, and like Tuesday morning we had a nun who volunteered with us, and she would cook like brown bread and soup, and you'd have that while you were doing your training, and the smells and homemade apple tart and all. But she did that voluntary every week. Like she came up and cooked for us.
Yeah.
There was a lot of volunteering.
It's hard to give people a sense who wouldn't have been kind of out and around, Ballymun, or would have a certain idea of Ballymun. That sense of, I always find this place. My mother's from Clara, a small village down in County Offaly, and it's funny. This place feels like it's really crossed between a very urban place, obviously, and also a very rural place. It has retained that kind of country village kind of community feel. And in relation to that, talk to me about the CAFTA, the Community and Family Training Authority. Like that kind of grew up again and was kind of a big organisation in Ballymun around the time of pre-regeneration and then into the regen. How did you kind of grow through it? Did you kind of, when you started, not go, okay, this is really interesting now, I'm kind of interested here?
So I suppose I signed up for a CE scheme doing office work with Martina O'Reilly, and she was a lovely mentor. I have to say, she was brilliant. And Mary McHale would have been the CE supervisor. She was just amazing. She just seen things in people that they didn't know was there. And I was doing a lot of office stuff. I'd done a lot of pitman and different things. And they asked me would I anchor one of the facilitation courses. So I was the anchor person, so I got to do the course. So then it was very much, well, actually, you're really good at that, so would you like to shadow some groups? So I started kind of shadowing different groups, different courses, personal development, community development. And then I suppose I moved on and kind of started running my own. It was like home and self-management. So it was really a first step for people just to try and encourage them to come back out into the community, build up their confidence. So it was really easy paced. We did lots of different things. We did cooking, we did budgeting, just easy stuff, arts and crafts, just kind of building people's confidence, just seeing a value in themselves. And then I got involved in the community development and leadership, so I was kind of coordinating that and running some parenting programs. And then I got involved with I was in the finance so I suppose we lost funding around the home and self, and I moved into the finance piece, which I really liked. But again, I wanted to be with people, so I done that for a couple of years, and then moved into kind of running incredible years in the schools and linking with them. And I suppose we lost a huge amount of funding in 2016, and we kind of lost loads of staff. We went from 23 to 7.
Yeah.
But it gave us an opportunity to explore lots of other areas within the organisation. So like pieces that I do now, I do baby massage, which I wouldn't have had an opportunity to do before, looking at circular security, running different pieces of work in collaboration with like the partnership, using the Ashling project for the families living in temporary accommodation. So I've kind of had an opportunity to spread my wings a lot more.
I mean, what you described there is, you know, probably 10 years of work in a way, and through straddling, you know, I said partnering with a lot of organizations, but working for two in particular, not working for CAFTA, and then now with Young Ballymun. And I suppose, just to go back to the kind of, because in the middle of all that, as a resident here, the whole regeneration kind of was kind of going on, and, you know, there's, from the infrastructure part was kind of huge, obviously, but the part that you were really involved in was the kind of social aspect of it, or and then so the individual aspect of it, of kind of people. But that's been a huge strength of you and the organizations that you work with, because, yeah, seeing people as individuals rather than a clump of people, and that takes a lot of time, though.
It does. But I do think, like, we were very much, I always work from a strengths-based approach, and I see people as they are and their potential, you know, and that can, I suppose, I think sometimes that's just in you. And my mum would have been very like that, and then the people who I started working with were very like that. So it just becomes your kind of ethos as you go through your life, really. I think sometimes I drive my kids mad because they say, "You're so positive." Get over it, you know. So, but I suppose the regen, look, I've mixed feelings around it, you know. I was only looking, I was clearing out, doing a spring clean, and I found my camcorder, and I have video footage of when I lived in the flat, and I absolutely adored my flat. The girl, like Liz, who I work with, she's one of my best friends, she lived next door, and we were able to just lock the door and leave our two doors open, and the kids could run in and out. And like, I actually loved living in my flat, you know. So, and I just feel it was very unfinished, and was very, so look, it was very unfinished, still unfinished. There's still a long way to go.
I think beyond kind of, you know, beyond the pluses and minuses of that process, I think what sometimes missed in all those types of conversations, looking for rights and wrongs, is no matter whether something's deemed a success or a failure, the fact of it, like, there was thousands of people that were moving house within a 7-year period, all at the same time. And like, in a normal kind of your normal life context, one says that moving house is the most traumatic thing you'll ever do. So you're kind of going, whether it's a success or not, it's kind of the second part of the conversation. The fact is, there was that amount of people moving, you know.
There was. I suppose CAFTA would have been very involved in the housing transition program, would be working with residents. But it kind of brought me back to when they were getting rid of the tenements in town, and people didn't necessarily have a choice about where they went, and, you know, like, neighbours were moved away from each other. And even I was just thinking, like, I remember talking to one of the older men who lived down the road, and he was saying if he was bored during the day, he'd just stand up and look out the window, because there was always something to see. You know, even if it was just somebody walking over to the van to get something, there was something to see. And there was, like, beautiful views. Like, I could see right from the Phoenix Park right around, you know, out to Holt and Bray. I do fabulous view. And when you move down into a house, you don't have that. Unless somebody walks by your door. So it became quite isolating. You know, also people, like, I remember always talking to the girls I was working with at the time, saying, "Oh, I can't wait to have a garden, you know, and the kids can play in the garden." Kids never played in the garden. They played out in the street with their friends, you know. So,
I think,
you know, just different.
I remember you talking to CAFTA and yourself, I think, around the time of, like, because I was amazed that when you think about it, it makes sense. But there was these programs to make people feel safer at the ground level, on, say, a 13th floor, and it kind of makes complete sense, because there's, as I say, there's safety in being away, and that's something I should never kind of think of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you're up and you're enclosed, nobody can get near you. You know, when you're down on the, like, anyone can walk by your window. So there was that safety, and also, you, like, there was a really good community in the blocks that you lived in as well, you know. So you'd have really kind of close neighbours. As I said, I'm still really good friends with the girl who lived beside me. Her girls were all my babysitters, and we're still very much involved in each other's life. So so, like, there was that closeness. And I suppose what kind of happened a little bit when we moved into houses, there was different areas, and it became very insular. So whereas before you were Shangan, you know, whereas now you're Whiteacre, Shangan, you know, lots of different names of different areas. So it kind of, I don't know, it kind of just made it made your community a little bit smaller, maybe.
Yeah. Can we go back there to, let's say, the transition for you, say, from Cathy to Young Ballymun, and the kind of focus on, well, children and, you know, the very young, which is obviously Young Ballymun's context, and, you know, an organisation that kind of, you know, developed over the course of many years from different organisations coming together, and then you acquired funding. And then, as you say, we're doing great work, and then obviously with different funding mechanisms changed 4 years ago, 5 years ago, had to go through a major restructure. But you're right, it's kind of also a sense, though, that, you know, that work never ends, and the more work you do of that, the more it's kind of needed, the more you kind of unpack. But I think what still remains fantastic about Ballymun is the partnership with the collaborations within. Like, we do work with Young Ballymun, and we've had them for years, but we're starting off on new work now. But I think that seems to be key both to you and to the organisation in general, Cathy.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think it can be, like, when we were a big organisation, I suppose we had a lot of resources. So, like, our collaboration was very much maybe on our terms. But when your money is gone, that shifts, and you have to look at who you can work with and what's going to benefit the organisation, what's going to benefit the community the most, you know. So, like, we've really, really strong relationships have come out of that. And I suppose a need in the community as well, because a lot of organisations lost their funding, you know, so a lot of doors were closed. So it's very much about how you support each other, and there's really good networks, I think, in Ballymun now, organisations coming together and, like, sharing experience and sharing resources.
Yeah, and to go back then to your own experience, because during that time as well, you kind of came in and joined a burgeoning dance company in Axis. Threads is a kind of is a dance project we started, 8-9 years ago, maybe. Emma Connors, and who's our artist development manager, Nicholas Patrick, was at the time started this, and it's just ballooned. You know, it's kind of.
People say it's a dance class, but it's not really.
No.
Like, when Thread started, it was very much about confidence. It was about giving women confidence to be able to stand on a stage, and that's very different to just a dance class, because anyone can do a dance class anywhere, you know. This was very, very different, and the reason I joined was they were doing Rocky Horror, and it's one of my favourites. So that's how I ended up getting involved, and I have to say, I haven't looked back. I absolutely love it. It's so good for your head. I had a friend who was struggling a little bit, and I said to her, look, just come. It's an hour and a half where you're having some fun, you're focusing on the dancing, and your stresses are left at the door. And I think that can be huge for people, because they don't necessarily get that chance during the week. And then for like, to actually go and have an opportunity to dress up any way you want. If you want to be covered, you can be covered. If you want to wear the most kinky gear, you can wear whatever you want, depending on the show. But about having the confidence to stand on a stage with other women who aren't experts at dancing, but who have a love of the music, the dancing, and there's really good friendships in it. The teachers are fabulous. The teachers have always been fabulous. Karen is great, and even her like helpers are fabulous, you know. And it is really about confidence and giving people a different experience. It's not kind of just a dance class.
Yeah,
I value it a lot more than that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's what it was kind of set up to be, kind of more a women in dance kind of program, or women in dance kind of. And it's funny because it's kind of like an accordion growing huge, and I mean it's always been a big group, but like, so there was a couple of years back where the group kind of, you know, ballooned into, like, you know, dozens of people. And you know, but you've also, you know, as I said, there's kind of the confidence building. There's also the age profile. I have, like, there was 60, 80 years of age, and a very, very, you know, collaborative place to be.
Yeah, and I know, like, even like, it's the whole thing of missing it. Like, it's a huge loss when it's not on.
Yeah.
You know, and even just meeting up with people and they're saying, oh, I can't wait to go back, you know. Like, it's a big part of, I suppose, my exercise regime and my keeping my sanity as well. Like, I really, really love it. I have to say, I love it.
And for me, like, it was kind of gas when 7M we were talking about, like, the next stage. So a few years back we had Philip out from Christcane doing her residency, and some of the Threads participants got involved in that and ended up in the Dublin Dance Fest. You know, there's all sorts of things, and you performed in Dublin, you performing women from Ballybock. You know, there's all sorts of.
In the parade this year.
No, yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, I know. Next year. Cathy, has kind of did you continue playing sport up through, like, was that something you kept up?
No, not really. I suppose when I would have kind of played a little bit when the girls were younger, and then I just stopped. And then when I was in my 30s, I think I just decided to start playing camogie because they were setting up a women's team where the girls played,
Okay.
and it was an excuse to stop smoking. So I started playing camogie. Ended up kicking the ball more because football was my sport, but it was great fun. Do you know, I have to say we had really good fun. And that team have kind of continued on and are doing fabulous. Now much more younger and agile players now, but it was really good fun. So I did that, and then like I'll go up and I'll play tennis. Like I was up playing tennis there the other day, so I like playing tennis every now and then. But that again, I started with Dublin Parks Tennis League. Do you know, we had a great opportunity to kind of have that every year just right beside us. So yeah, but the dancing would be my I love dancing. Always loved dancing.
I was going to say, like, did that reflect an interest before? Like, were you in dancing before you joined Threads?
Oh, I was never in dancing. I just was always good at it. Yeah. No, I love it. Love dancing. Love any kind of dancing. Went through all my different phases: rocker, raver. You know.
Yeah.
But just, yeah, love dancing. Love lots of different types of music. Definitely.
Would music be a big? Would you listen to an awful lot of music? Would music be a thing for you?
I do. I find I was only saying to my daughter the other day, you know, I remember watching The Simpsons, and you know, Homer's in the car and he has Radio Old on, and you know, I was kind of going, God, what I'm listening to, I'm kind of listening to all the stuff I listened to years ago, you know, putting on stations where they do kind of 80s or 70s, and so Radio Old, I think I get.
Yeah, no, I know. I get. Well, for my kids, anything older than kind of the year 2000 is ancient. You're kind of going, Jesus Christ, yeah. I won't keep it much longer. I just want to get a sense though of kind of you're very passionate about kind of your work and what you do, and I suppose what is it that fires you, Cathy, particularly working like in situations now in the in the emotion and well-being space that you kind of that your role is. What is it that becomes very important to you?
Well, I think I suppose I've always, even from a child, I never liked injustice, and I always liked fairness. And I suppose I really feel that I think everyone should have an opportunity in life, the same opportunities as everyone else. And look, I know that's not the reality, but would be what drives me. I really think that especially for young children, being aware of kind of their emotions and having social skills just really helps them academically. Do you know what I mean? And if they can manage their emotions and have good friendships, the academic piece is easier. You know, so I suppose that really, really lights my fire. And just even like I'm working with some families that are living in a hotel at the moment, and it's really frustrating because nothing is moving. But at least I can maybe be a voice or offer something. You know, I've like even just getting some funding to buy board games because they're so confined to a room in a hotel for 7 or 8 weeks. It's kind of soul destroying. So if I can offer anything, that's that's what lights my fire.
And how do you? That must be very difficult to separate yourself from that. That's something that I find talking to people an awful lot, and even in the culture, in the wider community sector. It's hard sometimes to separate yourself from the people and the work that you do. Is that something you kind of are able to do easily, or is that difficult for you?
No, definitely not. Yeah. No, I have to say I find it really, I do, because I suppose I feel for people, and I do find that hard to be able to leave stuff like in the office or whatever. And I think the fact that I live here as well, I'm seeing people, like if I bring the dog for a walk, I'll meet one of the parents, I'd stop for a chat, because I wouldn't like, oh, I'm not on work time, I'm not talking to you, it doesn't work like that. I think when you work and live in the community, you have to be open to that. It is hard, but like I get and amazingly I get a lot of appreciation from the people that I am working with, so it's not like they have all these expectations. Like even if I do something small, they're so appreciative, and that makes you feel great. Do you know what I mean? So, and I suppose I really focus on celebrating the successes, trying to celebrate the successes. So if somebody gets their forever home, I would be very much really genuinely delighted for them. Do you know what I mean? I'm telling them that I'm actually genuinely delighted for them that they have their forever home, and it's something small. Do you know, it's not anything huge. Does that make sense?
You know, it does. That makes total sense, and it's also back to that kind of strengths-based approach. You know what I mean? That kind of. But I mean, it's kind of from knowing you, it's that kind of strengths-based, warm approach. But you're also a fighter, and I think you have to be kind of in the arena you work in. You have to have that fight.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely think so, and I think that's what kind of happened in Ballymun during the regeneration. We lost kind of key voices. You know, Sean O'Connor and Kathleen Maher were huge voices, and nobody really stepped into their shoes to be the voice of the people. So if we can do that in any little way, I think it's beneficial. But yeah, I think we really need some strong voices to take up the reins.
Yeah. Cathy, I'll leave it at that. Thanks very, very much for taking part. Great to talk to you. And just in case anyone finds us on the internet in years to come, we're in the middle of a lockdown. Well, we're coming out of the lockdown allegedly the 20th of May. So it's great to be able to chat to you, Cathy, and wish you well in all that you do in the future.
Thanks, Mark. You too.
No worries. See you later.
Goodbye.